Namaste and welcome viewers to yet another brand new episode of Mirror Prime. I'm Ashish Pareek. Now it's hard being a Delhiite. The seasons may change, but the crisis doesn't. Not very long ago, we saw people queuing up for water during summers, and you'd assume that winters would bring its own problems, which it has. But the water scarcity in Delhi continues, even during winters. The culprit is the same old polluted Yamuna. While the season changes, the excuses also change. In summer, the blame was on the floods and the encroachments. Come winter, ammonia spikes are choking Delhi's taps. Tough questions need to be asked of the Delhi Sarkar, no doubt, but there's more to this. There are many stakeholders in this particular crisis. For example, the industrial waste from Haryana, which flows freely into Yamuna. Fertilizers, plastics, dyes, you name it, all of it is dumped into the Yamuna. And the treatment plants, the water treatment plants, like for example, the Wazirabad one, they make matters even worse. Now, this particular water plant breaks down in summers and cannot handle the pollution in winters. In fact, this winter, the ammonia levels in Yamuna are up by 5 times. This has reduced the water production at the Wazirabad water treatment plant by 25 to 50%. Delhi's water woes have absolutely no season. But here's a question. How long will people of Delhi continue to suffer? And while the blame game is no solution, is it high time neighboring states also start taking responsibility and own up to their contribution to this big old mess? Joining us right now, Dr. Anil Gupta, spokesperson of Delhi BJP, Anjali Rai, Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, Parin Somani, Dr. Parin Somani, who's an author and an activist, and Kanak Gupta, who's a co-founder of My Right to Breathe. Welcome everyone. A very important discussion here. I think keeping Delhi in context and also what's happening right now. Let's open up the panel now with Aam Aadmi Party. Anjali Rai ji, I think Delhi has the distinction now of being one of those rare places in India that has a water issue both in summer and in winter. In summer, you say that so-and-so state isn't releasing water. When they release water, you say it is causing floods. In winter, now you're saying that, sorry, we cannot supply water because Yamuna is polluted. What's going on?
Ashish, the problem is very clear. When we came into power in 2015, the demand for water was to 828 mgd, and now demand for water is around 1300 mgd. So this demand is increasing day by day. And we can't solve this problem on our own. As you said, neighboring states should also help us. Like Haryana, as you mentioned, they should also do whatever they should do. And secondly, I'm happy to say that today Kejriwal ji announced a very good plan to augment the water in Delhi. He has announced that he is going to augment water up to 1400 mgd. And we have a very good plan. We are going to augment this from, like, for example, in East Delhi, the water, groundwater level is quite high. And at the depth of 4 to 5 feet, we get water. And from there, we are going to extract water up to 200 mgd. And then in South and West Delhi, there are big aquifer from where we are going to get 100 mgd. And also from the banks from Yamuna, we are going from Wazirabad to Palla, we are going to augment 100 mgd water so that the problem of less water availability is solved. And all of us in Delhi get 24/7 water supply. The way we are getting 24/7 electricity in Delhi, we aim to provide 24/7 water, drinking and clean water in Delhi.
All right, I'll take this point across to a friend from the BJP here, Dr. Anil Gupta. Anil ji, now you just heard Anjali Rai from the Aam Aadmi talking about how a lot of promises have been made by the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, the reality of this is that a lot of promises were made 10 years back as well. Promises were made to clean Yamuna, to ensure that there's clean water for everyone in Delhi. 10 years later, we are still talking about water issue, and that too during winter. Do you hold the Aam Aadmi Party directly accountable for this?
Yeah, good evening to you and all the viewers. See, in 2015, the Delhi Jal Board had a capacity of 946 mgd. What is the capacity today? is still the same. 946 MGD is the treatment capacity of Delhi Jal Board. No doubt, the requirement is 1,300 MGD. Not even a single liter of the capacity has been increased by the Kejriwal government. You know, Yamuna has a TT. Round the year, they maintain a minimum E-flow of 1,000 cusecs. When there is a flood, they don't have any plan to store the Yamuna water so that it can be used in the winter or in the summers. Now, they get this raw water from 4 sources, from the Yamuna, from the Munak Nehar, from the Gang Nehar, and the borewell. Today, Kejriwal Sahab has announced a very, double standard scheme. What he said, that he want to withdraw 200 MGD from the groundwater. You check the table of the Delhi. Somewhere it is 150, somewhere it is 100. And there is a treaty wherein unless until the water table is below some standard, you cannot extract. But he's a government, he can do anything. Why he has not planned anything for last 10 years? When this Yamuna enters Delhi, the Delhi government, Delhi Pollution Control Committee says, the last November report, that it has a dissolved oxygen of 9 and a fecal coliform of 2,500. When Yamuna leaves Delhi at Okhla, the dissolved oxygen is 0 and the fecal coliform is more than 9 lakhs. That means the 37 STPs and 22 drains which are falling into the Yamuna, they are creating. The culprit is not Yamuna. I'm sorry, you use that word. Culprit is the Aam Aadmi Party government. Yamuna is clean at Palla. But when Delhi leaves the Yamuna, at Okhla, it is dirty.
But
because
Dr. Anil Gupta ji, is Yamuna also clean at Sonipat? A lot of industries, it is on record. A lot of industries near Sonipat release a lot of industrial waste. Is Yamuna clean near Sonipat?
I'm telling you, you check the every month record of Delhi Pollution Control Committee. You will see when Yamuna leaves. I'm challenging you, go on the website of Delhi Pollution Committee from January till November. The level, the parameters of water at Palla is within permissible limit. You can go and check. That means when Delhi gets the Yamuna, it is normally clean. And you talked about the Wazirabad plant. Why there was no desilting for last several years? Now they are just bringing the Yamuna level. Why there is no desilting? Because if they do some desilting, they do some work, the water holding capacity will increase and they will get more raw water. But
absolutely, lot of questions here. We'll of course discuss all of these during the course of the discussion, Dr. Anil Gupta ji. Let me also get in other speakers also right now. Dr. Parin Somani, author and activist, who's of course with us right now. Dr. Parin, now help me understand if this mindset is exactly the cause of the reason. Now, every time you try talking to someone from the Aam Aadmi Party, they talk about how Haryana is the reason why there's pollution in Delhi. Every time you talk to someone from the BJP, they mention how it's not that part of the river that's polluted, it's this part of the river that's polluted. At the end of the day, between this political tussle, political slugfest, it's the common person that suffers, and this has been the same template for the last 10 years.
Let me begin by emphasizing that my purpose here is not a political. I'll start with that. The water shortage in Delhi is not just a local issue. It is a regional crisis that demands cooperation and solution over division. While it is easy to blame one party or a government such as Aam Aadmi Party, but the reality is far more complex to that. This challenge involves multiple states, Haryana, Punjab, and Uttar Pradesh, and cannot be resolved by targeting one single entity. So understanding the issue is the more important. Delhi water crisis stems from rising demands, environmental and interstate water disputes. The Yamuna River, a vital water source, is heavily polluted by industrial and untreated sewage and traffic-related emissions. So climate change worsens the situation. We all know that with the unpredictable rainfall and shrinking water sources. Look at today. It's a heavily rainfall. It's freezing cold. And still it's a heavy rain. So this is not just about politics, but about the lives of millions
Right.
who depends on a clean, reliable water. Pollution, whether from traffic, factories, or waste, impacts us, exacerbates the crisis what we are going through. So rising about the blame one government or one party distracts us from real solution. Instead, we must focus on collective action, as water is a shared resources that transcends political and
Absolutely.
geographical boundaries.
I think
So
collective
the
action is the key. Dr. Parin, like you rightly pointed out. Let's also get in Kanak Gupta here, who's keen to speak right now, I believe, because you just heard the political voices and also Dr. Parin speak here about how collective action is the key to all this. Do you also feel there is a lack of action in a way as far as a body such as the CPCB or the Delhi Pollution Control Board or even the NGT is concerned? Do you think they're doing enough? Because 6,800 crore has been pumped from the Delhi government alone to clean Yamuna. The central government has allocated more funds. Where's all this money going? At the end of the day, when you try asking a politician or a political party, they resort to blame game. So there's no response or no solution from there. But the big question is, why isn't the Yamuna issue being solved? What's the core issue?
The core issue, Ashish ji, remains having a political will. Most of the heavy lifting in our country is done by the honorable courts. The politicians fight in your studios, Ashish ji, every year, be it on air pollution or be it on water pollution crisis. We have to understand this is not just an environmental issue, it's a public health emergency. The ppm levels in Yamuna are over 5. This is not fit for human consumption at all. And I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think our treatment plants can handle more than 1 ppm, which is something that we should work on. I can't believe it that we still don't have a policy on zero waste disposal into the water. I can't believe we don't have water audits. Every 6 months, every 4 months, we should have water audits. I can't believe when the crisis comes, then we all shout at each other and there is a public panic. But this has to be a year-round approach. We really need to figure out as to how can we sit peacefully, and instead of blaming each other as political parties, we need to take ownership of this issue. The water crisis is a health emergency, and we need to learn from other places which have overcome this problem. There was a problem in London when Thames was declared that it was biologically dead. They overcame it. I believe Sabarmati has done well. There is a Namami Gange movement which is happening, which is giving some results. We should learn from that. As a citizen of New Delhi, I feel very disheartened that every crisis is never addressed anywhere except for newsroom studios with due respect. Because we need to talk to each other, make plans, and follow it up with action, not just shout at each other at political studios. That is something that we need to do. The problem remains, the funds have been allocated.
Absolutely.
There's no scientific measures being taken. There's a lot of chalo ye bhi kar le, chalo wo bhi kar le, but there has to be more scientific measures taken to clean the Yamuna. This is a health emergency. We need to act on it now.
Absolutely. In fact, Anjali ji, I'll come back to you now. You mentioned how Arvind Kejriwal has now made a slew of announcements, and we, of course, expect it during election season. Now, ammonia levels tend to rise during the winter months due to lower water flow and also higher concentration of pollutants in the river. So this essentially what we are looking at right now is a seasonal issue. Anjali ji, why hasn't your party in the last 10 years upgraded the system? Dr. Anil here from the BJP also mentioned how your party has not upgraded the existing system for the past 10 years. What's stopping you from doing it? Now, you make a lot of announcements, but the allegation coming in from the BJP is that you don't follow through. You make an announcement, you win elections, and it's all dead.
No, Ashish, you are wrong. Most of the promises which we made have been fulfilled. If I ask about to the BJP person, what about their promises? They promised 2 crore jobs every year. Have they fulfilled that promise? They said they will double the MSP.
Now, Anjali ji, let's not get there. We're talking about pollution. See, this is, Anjali ji, this is the core issue that I have. On my show, I'm here to discuss pollution, and every time we start talking about the key issues, it goes to jobs, it goes to some... We discuss, those are also important issues. But let's now stick to the topic at hand. It's pollution.
Ashish, I agree with you. we are really concerned. And Kejriwal ji also admitted that we couldn't do much on this issue. We couldn't solve the problem of Yamuna. The reasons were like COVID was there. Then our party faced so many difficulties. Our leaders were in jail. So there were many obstacles. But we are determined to solve this problem.
Anjali ji, COVID was for 2 years. You've been in power for the last 10 years. What were you doing for the other 8 years?
Ashish, we did a lot of things. We laid 4,000-kilometer water pipelines, and then we laid 6,800 kilometer of sewer lines. We tried to strengthen the infrastructure, but the problem is there. For that, we have to do two things. We have to augment the water quantity, availability of water in Delhi, and secondly, definitely, we have to clean Yamuna. But this should be the collective responsibility. The neighboring states should also come forth and help us, and all together we should try to solve this problem. Otherwise, this problem is never going to be solved.
All right. Collective responsibility. I'll ask Dr. Anil Gupta for more details on that. But let's now talk about what you're doing in Delhi. For example, a monitoring committee by the NGT found that a 22-kilometer stretch of Yamuna between Wazirabad Barrage and Okla Barrage contributes to 76% of the total pollution. Anjali ji, you say the Aam Aadmi Party has done a lot in the last 10 years. Tell me what you've done in these 22 kilometers. What's the groundbreaking work that the Aam Aadmi Party has done here, and why hasn't it worked?
As I told you, we have already admitted that on this issue, we are lagging behind. But definitely, we are determined to solve this problem. We have done a lot in field of education, health, and other social problems. But in this, we were not capable of doing all, like solving the problem completely, but we won't be able to solve the problem
Anjali ji, on Mirror Prime today, do you admit that the Aam Aadmi Party has failed in solving the Yamuna issue?
I won't say failed. We tried, but we'll have to try more, definitely.
But you failed. You tried, but you failed. All right. That's the point here. Dr. Anil ji, let's forget about what the Aam Aadmi says, what the Aam Aadmi Party tries to do. Now, you say that the Aam Aadmi Party is not doing enough. Dr. Anil ji, tell me what exactly have you done in Haryana? Because water to Delhi from Yamuna flows through Haryana. What have you done to ensure that the situation in Haryana is kept under check? Because the allegation always comes at you, at Haryana, that the fact that all the pollution that's happening in Delhi is actually emanating from Haryana.
Yeah, let me give you some details. Apart from the Yamuna, there are 37 STP plants in Delhi. As per Delhi government reports, 22 STP plants are not meeting the parameters. That means untreated or semi-treated water effluent is going into the Yamuna. There are 22 major drains which are directly falling into the Yamuna. That is as per the Delhi government reports. So they are the culprit. And I mentioned there are 4 sources. Roughly we get 300 MGD from the Munak Nehar, 200 MGD from the Gang Nehar, 100 MGD from the underground water, and 300 to 400 MGD from the Yamuna. Round the year, we have this, as per the Yamuna treaty, minimum 1,000 cusacks e-flow is maintained. And when the water quality is checked at the Palla, every month they checked, the inlet parameters are meeting. That you can check. So Haryana is not the culprit. There is no ammonia issue in the Munak Nehar. There is no ammonia issue in the Gang Nehar. There is no ammonia issue in the underground water. Only for 300 MGD, the talk of the Yamuna. But when their own agency check that quality, that is meeting the parameters. That means they are believing. Why they have not increased even a single liter raw water treatment facility for last 10 years. The Delhi Jal Board has a debt of 80,000 rupees, 80,000 crores. So who is to blame? They have not done anything. They have just, and what scheme they have announced today? Extracting more water. Why have they not announced the rainwater harvesting? Why during the rainy season, the flooding season, there is no scheme of holding the raw water in the Yamuna area? There is a scheme. They are not doing anything because they are into just blaming game. They are just looting.
But Anil ji, the Aam Aadmi Party says during rainy season, states like Haryana end up releasing a lot of water. Haryana, the BJP government is responsible for the floods that happened in Delhi. This is what the Aam Aadmi Party says every time.
You go and check the records. You know, as per the Hathni Koran barrage, there is a TT between Himachal, UP, Haryana and Delhi. Even during the summer season, the 1,000 cubic cement. You remember the Atish's statement about 2 months back. They said that 2 mg water is less been reduced. And during the flooding, there is a procedure. The gates are open, and that is for the other states also. So that is as per TT. There is a TT
All right,
also.
we'll talk about statements and counter statements later. But let me also get in Kanak Gupta. Mr. Kanak Gupta, now this is a wholesome issue, and when I say wholesome issue, there are a lot of contributing factors to it. Now, for example, Delhi's Wetland Authority informed NGT very recently that nearly 50% of the identified water bodies in Delhi are now missing, disappeared. Out of the 1,045 water bodies that were identified in Delhi in 2021, only 631 water bodies are now found. So basically, whatever is happening in Yamuna, let's keep that aside. The next best option of water supply in Delhi is now completely disappeared in broad daylight.
It's disappeared in broad daylight and there is no accountability. You mentioned the numbers, right? Like as to, how much the budget has been allocated from everyone. We would have to ask questions. Where is all this money going at some point of time? Where have all the water bodies disappeared? And why is this a post facto analysis which is coming to us? Why was there not regular audits happening on the water bodies on environmental issues? Ashish ji, if you look at the election manifestos, because this is election season now, they will all be full of promises. Everyone would have solutions and they would come to us and tell us that this will be solved in a year's time. 10 years, 20 years, I don't think there is going to be any solution because there is no political will on it. I think the water bodies disappearing is a very, very big red flag for Delhi citizens. I think cleaning the Yamuna has to be on threefold. You have to have immediate measures. Look at lime water treatment to cure ammonia. You have to look at short-term measures and also long-term measures where you build capacities of the water treatment plant to treat more than 1 ppm. These are measures we have to take. Unfortunately, there is no one who's putting their hand up and saying that I am accountable. The only accountability that is there, I'm saying this again, is the honorable courts. They are the only ones who do the heavy lifting. Ultimately, it is you and me, the common citizens, who suffer. And we see every year the problem escalating in summers also, in winters also. There is lack of water in the summers, and in winters you see fog in the water, you see dirt, pollution, water unfit for
Kanak, there's lack of water in winter as well. That's the whole irony of the situation. In summer, I can understand if someone tells me there's no water. In winter as well, there's no water. I don't think there's any other country where you see such issues. But of course, we'll keep talking about it. And I think I need to congratulate Anjali Rai ji as well from the Aam Aadmi Party for boldly acknowledging the fact that you haven't been able to do what you planned for Yamuna in Delhi for the past 10 years. And I think it's a bold acknowledgement coming in an election season. And Dr. Anil Gupta, Dr. Parin Somani and Kanak Gupta, appreciate you all for joining us on the broadcast for this discussion. All right, viewers, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Mirror Prime. Lots more lineup on the other side. Stay tuned.